Good morning, digital learners. I wanted to do a demonstration lab for you that will help you visualize one of the very important properties of our atmosphere, which is density. But then it also helps us to see the relative thickness of those layers. So the first thing I want to do is show you the lab materials I have. So these are common household materials. I have water that has some red food coloring in it. I have rubbing alcohol that has green food coloring in it. I have vegetable oil, and then back here in the blue, I have my Dawn soap. And then I also have a very teeny tiny graduated cylinder. So the first or bottom layer of our atmosphere is the troposphere. And to represent the troposphere, we are going to use the Dawn dish soap, which has a density of 1.06 grams per milliliter. That means that it is denser than water, so it would sink. So I'm going to use a tiny amount of my Dawn dish soap here. And I want to be sure to get it in the middle of the graduated cylinder. All right, a few more of these by the looks of it. And of course, my phone would ring when I'm trying to record something for you. Okay, so I think that that's gonna be it for our Dawn dish soap. I'm kind of letting it run down the side here. I'm trying to get it up to that 0.5 milliliter mark. Actually, we might need a little bit more. Okay, so that will represent our troposphere, which remember is going to be the bottom layer of our atmosphere. It's going to be the densest layer of our atmosphere. And this is the layer of the atmosphere that we are going to spend our entire lives in unless we become astronauts or fighter jet pilots. And if you become either, you need to write me a letter and let me know that you did this in life, okay? So our next layer is going to be our stratosphere. And to represent our stratosphere, I am going to use water. I need 1.5 milliliters of water. That's going to bring it up to about the 2.5 mark. Okay, and I'm going to bring our layers closer to the camera so that you're able to see what's going on. So because of the density differences, my soap, my Dawn dish soap that represents my troposphere, is going to sink below and stay below the water that we use to represent our stratosphere. So up next is our mesosphere. We're going to represent that with vegetable oil. So we're going to use about 1.5 milliliters of vegetable oil. Remember that our mesosphere is important to us because this is where our meteors will burn up. This is where meteors suddenly they appear to look like a shooting star. And that is because that meteoroid coming in from space is going to encounter enough air particles for the first time that there's friction that will actually cause it to start to burn up. Now, the topmost layer, my vegetable oil, before I move on, has a density of 0.92 grams per milliliter, which means that it is going to sit nicely on top of our water. This is exactly the same reason that if you have oil and vinegar salad dressing in the house, that you see the oil on top of the vinegar. The oil is going to be less dense, so it will float, while the vinegar at the bottom is more dense, so it's it's going to stay at the bottom. And then at the very bottom is where you will have salt, pepper, any spices that somebody may have mixed in with your vinaigrette. So now moving on to our thermosphere. Remember that this is going to be the largest layer of our atmosphere. And it is so large, in fact, that we are not actually representing it to scale for this model. So I am adding about 6.5 milliliters of rubbing alcohol to our scale, when in fact, if we wanted this to be accurate, we would have to add 298 milliliters of rubbing alcohol. So although we think of our atmosphere as being very large compared to us, in reality, it's very, very thin. And it is this tiny protective envelope that allows life as we know it to occur. Okay, so here is my completed liquid layers. So at the bottom, just that tiny little bit of blue, that is our troposphere. The red is the stratosphere. The oil, which I'm trying to, looks like there's a little bit of a meniscus or a bubble in there. The oil represents our mesosphere. And then this green part represents our thermosphere. Remember that our thermosphere is not to scale. If we wanted to have it to scale, we would need to add 298 milliliters on top of what we have here. So go ahead and make sure that you answer those analysis questions on your lab sheet and get them turned in. Have a great one. Bye, guys.